Dion's telling us that Matt Rule's going to have a conversation here with Mickey Joseph soon. So,
yep, that's what we just said.
I just can't imagine that he's not going to do everything possible to keep him on board.
I think you have to, especially with, if you want to. The hardest thing for a new head coach incoming, especially at this time of year, is not only recruiting, but re-recruiting the kids that are already committed to you. And keeping Mickey Joseph obviously goes a long, long way to keep those guys on board. So, yeah. And, I mean, he knows Mickey. I mean, not personally, but he knows that he's a hell of a recruiter and a really good coach that's coached at a lot of different levels. So, yeah, Matt Rule comes off as a pretty smart guy to me after today, being around him in person for the first time. And, what successful head coaches do is they surround themselves with other really good guys on their staff. So I think Mickey Joseph checks all those boxes.
For sure. Folks, comments and questions. If you've got anything for us, please let us know. Otherwise, keep in mind that we probably covered your question here in the first 34 minutes concerning Mickey Joseph, concerning coaches, concerning recruiting, strategy, and all of those things. We've got Javon Van Crump. Howard, if these coaching changes hold true, that means Fisher, Dawson, Bill Bush, Whipple, and Duval are all gone.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
And I mean, you can't be surprised by that. These are all Scott Frost hires. I've said many times that, obviously Mickey Joseph is a guy that you got to keep. And I think Sean Beckton's a guy that you got to keep. And in my mind, Bill Bush. But, it's Matt Rule's team. It's his staff. And, he's going to build it the way he wants. So we'll see when it's all said and done.
Yeah, people are throwing records out there, and that's the bottom line for these coaches. But at the same time, you got to understand the circumstances and the context of it. Temple doesn't win anything. They're hardly ever any good. And Matt Rule stepped in there and got off to a rocky start. Got off to a rocky start at Baylor. Takes time to get something going and get some traction and turn things around. So there's sometimes a step back, and there was at Temple and Baylor. With one win or two wins those first two seasons at both those programs. But then he goes 6-6 at Temple. Then he has 2 consecutive years where he wins 10 games. He goes to a conference championship game for the first time in 50 years there. And then they go to another conference championship game and they win it before he departed for Baylor. Baylor's 1-11, and they had all that Art Briles mess and everybody leaving left and right, and he's got to stabilize that deal. They go 7-6. They win a bowl game. Then they go 11 wins, and they go to the Big 12 championship game. Those are 2 pretty impressive reclamation projects.
Yeah, and a little side note on there is Nebraska President Ted Carter was actually at Navy when Matt Rule was at Temple. And they played Navy in that A-10 championship game, and Navy was a 14-point favorite going into that game. And he said Temple came in there with an incredible defense and shut down Navy and beat the pants off of them, and was very impressed with them then.